Last night, a U.S. court ruled that Apple is no longer allowed to prevent developers from linking out to external purchases, and they aren't allowed to charge developers for those purchases outside of the App Store. And also last night, RevenueCat did what it does best: shipping. So today I want to show you the Web Paywall button, a new component available today in the RevenueCat Paywall Builder. Now you can easily add a button on your in-app paywall that links out to a web-based paywall for purchases outside of the App Store that unlocks features inside of your app. This hosted web checkout is powered by RevenueCat's web billing feature. We handle everything, including web paywall design, invoicing, and a subscription management user interface. It's the all-in-one foundation that makes it possible to launch a polished, fully hosted paywall on the web without having to build or manage the billing stack yourself. Let's look at how it all works. Okay, so I'm in the RevenueCat dashboard. I'm in this Paw Plus project that we use for a lot of our demos. And then you can see that I have an iOS project here. And I actually have multiple web billing apps in here, but you can see these say old. This is just because I make a lot of demos, but there's really just one web billing app that's really active, that's already set up. So I've already set up this project, linked it with a Stripe account for the actual payment processing. If you want to see how that works like end to end, I just released a video on how to set all of this up. It was ultimately for a win-back campaign, but it's the same process. So I'll link to that in the description. But yeah, so all I really have is I have a web billing project that exists, or a web billing app that exists, and it is connected to a Stripe account. But everything else is going to be kind of from scratch here. So this is the app. It's like kind of like a streaming service, but all the content right now is locked unless you go in and you upgrade to Pro. You can see there's a monthly plan and a yearly plan. But what we want to do is we want to add a new button in here that can link you out to the web where you can make a purchase on the web, now that that's a thing that we can do. And because that's outside of the App Store, you can have some kind of discount because you're not going to have the same App Store fees that you're used to. So maybe we'll do a 30% discount if you go to the web. We want to do something like that. So let's look at how to set that up. So ultimately, the first thing we need is a website that people can go to make a purchase. And that's done with what we call Web Paywall links, which are a part of your offering. So if we go into offerings, you can see that right now, my initial offering is set as the default. You can see because it has that check. And if I click on it, it has two packages. There's a monthly and an annual. And each package right now only has a iOS product in there. So let's just duplicate this to work from. All right. And we'll call this our Web Paywall offering. And it's a offering with a paywall that links to the web. And we're not going to duplicate the paywall because we're going to create a new one. So let's duplicate that. Cool. And then let's set that one as the default so that that's what we see in our simulator, or that's what people will start seeing in the real world as well. All right. And click on that. All right. And then in here, there's this tab called Web Paywall Link. That's where you're going to configure the paywall that will actually be hosted on the web, but we are the ones that will host it for you. So if you click on that and hit Attach Web Billing Product, now we can actually attach the product to this offering that we want to show on the web. And right now I have one product, and it's a monthly one in web billing. So we're going to click here and go to this monthly product, and we're going to attach that product. You could also have multiple, but I just happen to only have one inside of this one. Let's save that. Cool. So now if we go back into our offering and the Web Paywall link, now we can create a Web Paywall link for this offering. Cool. So this is where we're going to configure everything. First thing we need to do is pick which web billing app we want to use. And we want to use this one right here because that's our active one. Most people are only going to have one there. And then there's some configuration you can do for what's going to show on that website, on the page. So the first thing you're going to see is a header and a subheader, and then the actual products that somebody can buy. So we're going to say get 30% off Paw Plus. Enjoy a discount on PAW Plus. I don't know, something like that. And then you'll need a link to your terms and conditions. I'm just going to use RevenueCat's, but obviously you should have your own. And then you can control what's on your success page. You could have it redirect to some success page that you own, but I'm just going to have it show the default success page. And here you can specify a header and subheader. I'm not going to be too fancy with this, so we're just going to say purchase successful. Download the app. No. So in this case, you have the app already because you came from the app. So here it's going to be enjoy your new content, something like that. Not a copy editor. And then you have an option to show a download button. So if you turn this on, it's going to ask you for your App Store URL page. So if you have this, you can point it at your app in the App Store, and the success page will have a link to your app just in case the person doesn't have it downloaded. In our case, they will have it downloaded, but if they do click that, there will be an open button in the top right. But you can also just leave it off, and then it'll just show them, hey, your purchase is successful. All your content is unlocked, and then they can just switch back to the app on their own. So that's what I'm going to do here. And then you can choose what happens if the customer already has an entitlement. So if they ended up on this page, even though they're already subscribed through a normal in-app purchase, what do you want to do? In my case, I just want to show the success page because I don't want them to buy the same product twice in different places. Cool. So that's all you have to do to set this up. So now we can hit save. And right away, this should be pretty much ready to go. If you wanted to customize how this looks, you do that by going into your web billing app and then going to appearance. And this right here is where you get kind of a preview. So I've already kind of set one up in a previous tutorial where it has this pink button and black background. If you hit open editor, you can change how all this looks. So you could make, these buttons look a totally different color. There's a couple different like default themes you can switch between. I'm just going to leave mine how it was set up before, so I'm not going to save that. Cool. So that's all we have to do to set up our web paywall. It's actually completely there. Actually, if you go into our offering here, you see this website right here. You can preview this if you want by going there, and then appended at the end will be your app username. Our paywall will handle all this for us, but if you just wanted to preview it, you could just create a fake username right here. And then you'll get the actual paywall link. And this is like a real one. I could make this purchase right now with a real credit card and it would work. And RevenueCat's hosting all of this for you and handling all of the user emails and invoices and everything like that. So it's really, really straightforward. So let's go ahead and set up the paywall then so that users, will actually see this. So if we go into our offering and then add paywall, and let's create a new paywall instead of picking one that already exists. And we're going to attach that to our web paywall offering that we've been working with. So here you'll see our template selector, but now at the top, there's this new section. And this is for our new templates with web paywall buttons. So they look very similar to our existing templates that you're used to, multiple products or just a single one. But the main difference here is these colored big buttons at the bottom. These are web paywall buttons. And these are the buttons that will shoot you out to the web, automatically sending you to a paywall that we're hosting through web paywall links. And so, obviously, these are highly customizable, just like everything else, but we're just going to go ahead and select this one since we have two products. Cool. And the first thing we need to do is make sure these products are set up correctly. So let's just click on each of these packages. All right, cool. That one's set to annual by default, and that one's set to monthly by default. Pretty sweet. Let's see if I hit save. No, there is one error. Oh, so this is using our new web paywall button that we just released. And as you can see, it looks and acts just like any other button. The only difference is its action is set to navigate to, which is a thing that already existed, but the option is set to web paywall button. So previously we had privacy policy, terms of service, and URL. So you could specify any URL you wanted to. And you could set this URL to a web paywall of your own that you own, or even a web paywall link that we provide. But what the web paywall option here does is it automatically grabs that from the offering that this paywall is attached to, and it adds the user ID to the end of that automatically, so that whenever you link out to that paywall, you are now associated with that user that's in the app, which is great. So that whenever you make a purchase and you switch back to the app, everything will be unlocked, which is super, super nice. So if we wanted to create one of these from scratch, let's just delete this and recreate it just to give you an idea here. You'd hit add component and you'd choose a button, just a normal button. And let's put that down underneath the purchase button. Yeah, just like that. And you can make this look however you want, but functionally, it needs to be navigate to, and then the option needs to be web paywall. If this message right here doesn't have a preview link, it will tell you that you haven't configured a web paywall link yet. Then you need to do that step that we did earlier where we added a web paywall link on our offering and configured what the header and subheader and some of those options were. But if I hit this preview button right now, it'll take us where we saw earlier. This is the actual web paywall as it exists today. And if you want to make a purchase here, you need a real credit card. This isn't the Sandbox version, which we do have, but you need to go over to the web paywall configuration to see that. So I shouldn't have deleted that one because it doesn't look as good, but that's pretty much it. Let's undo. Okay, so we got that back. This is all set up correctly. All right, so let's go ahead and hit save, and then let's publish that paywall. Sweet. So that's all we have to do. We now actually have a paywall that will link you out to a web purchase, and you can make your purchase there, and that will unlock content in the app. So let's see if it works. Let's pull over our simulator here. I'm going to close it and reopen it. All right. And then let's go into settings and open that paywall. All right, there we go. So there's the paywall we just configured. Let's cover it up so it doesn't look so weird. There we go. All right. So if I, pick between these two and I hit purchase, that's going to be a normal in-app purchase like you're used to. But if I hit or save 30%, it's going to give me a modal that tells me I'm leaving. This is so that you're in compliance with the rule. The judge's ruling said that Apple is allowed to require a reasonable alert to let you know that you're going off to a third-party site. So we believe this should be in compliance. So that'll pop up. And then if you hit open, it'll open up Safari to a web paywall that's hosted by RevenueCat. And if you look at this URL, you'll see the user ID is at the end here, which means that any purchases will be linked to the right user, which is super sweet. Now, like I said earlier, this is the real deal paywall. So the only way to test this paywall is to use a real credit card. So if you don't have a test credit card, we have a way to test that. And the way to do that is if you back out and you go to your offering and go to web paywall link. So this right here is the URL for the production version of the paywall. But if you hit this drop down, you'll get a URL to the Sandbox paywall. So what you want to do is you want to copy this, but remember we do still need that user ID at the end. So we can go into the URL here and basically copy everything before that and paste it in. Oh, I got double slashes. Boom. All right. Is that the right? Yeah. SURUP. Okay, cool. And visit there. All right. So now we should be in the Sandbox version of the paywall. So if I hit continue, you'll see this Sandbox box up at the top to let you know that this is a fake purchase. And that means you can use the Stripe fake credit card number. So I'm just going to put as the email, my email, and then the card number. The fake credit card one is 42424242 for everything. You do need to make sure your date is in the future. All right, cool. Pay now. All right. Payment is complete. If I hit continue, I should see that success page and it says enjoy your new content, which means if I go over to my app, I should see, and you just saw it popped and it says thank you for subscribing. And if I go to manage subscription, which is using Customer Center, which is another RevenueCat product, it updated my information to say you have a subscription that was purchased on the web. So that purchase automatically unlocked my content. And if I close all this, you'll see I now have all of my movies unlocked. So that's like super awesome. We have a web-based paywall that took almost no work at all. Super, super easy to do. There's a couple little extra things that you need to make sure you do, and then a couple extra things that you probably want to do. So the first one is this judge ruling is only applied in the US. So you need to make sure that only users in the US are seeing this new paywall. You also need to make sure that it's only users that are on the latest version of the RevenueCat SDK. And if you're not already on the latest version of the RevenueCat SDK, you need to make sure you update to at least 5.22.2. And you can see which versions are required if you go to the RevenueCat change log. You can see for iOS SDK, it's 5.22.2. React Native is 8.9.6. Flutter is 8.7.5. And Kotlin multi-platform is that long thing. So make sure you're on the latest version of the SDK. But you also want to make sure that, there's still going to be users out there that are on apps that were built with older versions of the SDK. So you need to protect against that. And that's where we're going to use a RevenueCat feature called targeting. So if we go down to targeting here, this lets you create rules to send different paywalls to different users. And actually we're going to change what the default is. We're going to make the default the old paywall without the web paywall link, since we only want to target a specific number of users, people in the US who are on iOS, who are on the current version of the SDK. They're the only ones that should see this. So let's go back over to offerings real quick, and let's set our default back to the initial offering. Yep. Okay. And then let's go into targeting, and we're going to create a new rule, and this will be our web paywall. We'll just call it that. And then we're going to say, if the user is in the United States and they are on the iOS, their iOS SDK is greater than or equal to 5.22.2. And then if you have a multi-platform app, like you have an Android app or something like that, you also want to make, sure that they're only being seen by people that are on the iOS version. Because right now, Android or the Google Play Store has not opened this up. So you still can't do links to external sites to make purchases on Android. So let's also go ahead and do that, even though in my case, I only have an iOS app. And then if somebody matches all those requirements, then we're going to send them to the web paywall offering. And we're not going to schedule it or anything. So let's go ahead and save. And that's what that should look like. So now only the correct users are actually going to be shown this paywall that links you out to a web purchase. So this right here could be all you need to do. You do really need to make sure you only show it to people in the US. Otherwise, you might get a rejection from app review. But this could be all you need to do. But we're in a really dynamic situation here, and nobody really knows how this is going to play out. We have no idea if linking people out to a website to make a purchase is going to severely lower your conversion rate, so much so that you're better off just paying the full App Store fee anyway. Or if people aren't going to be impacted at all, or maybe the conversion rate's higher, who knows? So we highly, highly recommend that everybody who's playing around in this space run extensive experiments. You need to A/B test how your users are behaving depending on which paywall they're seeing. And that's where you're going to use RevenueCat experiments. So what you could do, and I'm just going to quickly kind of throw one together here. You can go to experiments and create a new one. And we'll call this our web paywall experiment. And we're going to call the control our initial offering. So this is the one without a web paywall. And then we're going to make our treatment the web paywall offering. And then you're going to want to do those same rules that we just applied to targeting to make sure it's only going to people in the US who are on iOS. So we're going to say country is any of United States, and their app version for the iOS app is more than, not app version, the RevenueCat SDK version for iOS is more than or equal to 5.22.2. And they're only the iOS people, right? So same enrollment criteria. So now we're saying for one group, we're going to send the initial offering. For the other group, we're going to send the web paywall offering that has our new link. And then you can set what percentage of the users that this applies to you want to send it to. So I would set it to 100%, honestly, so that 50% of those users are seeing the one without the web paywall and 50% are seeing it. And if you create that experiment and start it, that's going to start running it right away. And obviously right here, this is all a test, so we're not going to have any real data. But once you start getting some data in, you can really start getting some insights into how this is affecting your conversion rates and trial starts. And that's really, really important when we're in this super early phase in something where there's zero research on this, because this literally wasn't a thing that we were allowed to do until last night. So we obviously jumped on this super early in terms of implementing features in paywalls to make this possible for you to do. We're also just super paying attention to how the market's responding to this. And that way we can bring the information to you to let you know how this seems to be affecting things. But this feels like it's a really big opportunity for people to try out some different monetization methods and maybe enable some new types of businesses that weren't possible before. We're excited to see what you all do with it. And as usual, let us know what you think.